Hello, welcome to Gurukul's CAT 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady.
Hello and welcome back to day 83 of our 100 Days to CAT series by the Gurukul. Now, this is your passage for today. In case you want to take this up as a test, all you've got to do is go on to www.thegurukul.org.in and sign up for our 100 Days to CAT test series. In case you want to follow along with this video, then this is the first part of your passage. Pause the video here, read this passage, and then we're going to go and look at the second part of the passage. This is the second part of the passage. Pause the video, read this passage, and then we're going to go into the questions of this passage. This is question number 1. Pause the video here, answer these questions, and then we're going to go into the question number 2. This question number 2, pause the video, answer this question, and then we're going to look at the question number 3. This question number 3, pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to look at the question number 4, which is the last question of this passage. This is question number 4, last question of the passage. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to go and look at the passage explanations and the question explanations. The passage says there are two contrasted kinds of genius, the poetical and the philosophical, or yet to speak more generally, the artistic and the critical. The former is distinguished by a concrete, the latter by an abstract. So basically what's the author doing? He's saying that there are two kinds of genius altogether. Okay, so one is the poetical genius and the second one is the philosophical genius, right? And this poetical genius is the one who is more artistic in nature, and this philosophical genius is the one who is more critical in nature. Okay, the former sees things synthetically and all their natural complexity. The latter pulls things into pieces analytically and scrutinizes their relations. The former sees tree in all its glory, where the latter sees an exogen with a pair of cotyledons. Now, what is this exogen and cotyledon? Exogen is nothing but the seed, and cotyledons are those small plant-like things that are coming out of the seed. The former sees wholes, where the latter sees aggregates. So basically, what are we saying? This artistic person, he has a, whole picture of something, whereas this critical person or the philosophical person sees things as an aggregate, as a sum of multiple parts. So these are the ideas that I get from this particular part of the passage. Corresponding with these two kinds of genius, there are two classes of artistic production. So now what are we looking at? We're looking at what kind of productions they are bringing, what kind of concepts they are bringing out, what are they creating. When the critical genius writes a poem or a novel, he constructs his plot and his characters in conformity to some prearranged theory or with a view to illustrate some favorite doctrine. So what are we seeing over here? We're seeing that when there's a critical genius, when there's this philosophical genius, okay, and he's trying to create something, then he's constructing his plot keeping in mind what he thinks is a logical manner, the prearranged theory, or with a view to illustrate some favorite doctrine or to convince you about some particular thing. When he paints a picture, he first thinks how certain persons would look under given circumstances and paints them accordingly. When he writes a piece of music, he first decides that this phrase expresses joy, this phrase expresses disappointment, and the other expresses disgust, and then he composes accordingly. So he has a very systematic, methodical way of logically analyzing what should be where. According to that, he creates something. We therefore say ordinarily that he does not create but only constructs and combines. So he's not creating as a whole, but what's he doing? He's making smaller parts and then he's just combining them. It's far different from the artistic genius who, without stopping to think, sees a picture and hears a symphony with the eyes and ears of imagination and paints and plays merely what he has seen and heard. So this is different from what an artistic genius does. An artistic genius uses his imagination and he just goes on painting or playing, okay, whatever his mind actually shows. So what are the clear differences that I see amongst these two kinds of geniuses? I see that this person just constructs logically and then combines whereas the poetical or the artistic person, he looks at it as a whole and imagines and then creates. Correct? So this is what we've understood from the first part of the passage. Let's go to the second part of the passage. Now, he writes, when Dante in imagination arrived at the lowest circle of hell where traitors like Judas and Brutus were punished, he came upon a terrible frozen lake which he says ever makes me shudder at the sight of frozen pools. I've always considered this line a marvelous instance of the intensity of Dante's imagination. It shows to how Dante composed his poem. He did not take counsel of himself and say, go to, let's describe the traitors froze up in their necks in a dismal lake, for that will be most terrible. But the picture of the lake in all its iciness with the haggard faces staring out from the glassy crust came unbidden before his mind with such intense reality that for the rest of his life he could not look at a frozen pool without a shudder of horror. Now, what does this word haggard mean? Haggard means seemingly ill. Right, so what does the author tell me in this part of the passage? He says that when Dante told about the frozen pool where all the traitors like Judas and Brutus are going there and they're punished over there, he had a vivid imagination of that place. He did not think, he did not take the counsel of himself, he did not ask himself, okay, what would my audience want? What would my audience want to, look at this as? He looked at that frozen lake, he imagined that frozen lake, and then he just wrote about it. And till today, he is still so afraid that of frozen pools because of his vivid imagination that he cannot go near one. He described it exactly as he saw it, and his description makes us shudder who read it after all these centuries that have intervened. That means, yes, even till today, we are feeling that kind of a horror because of his imagination, because of the way he has written. And he has written it so well, not thinking of it logically, but artistically. Okay, he thought about it as an imagination, and whatever his imagination was, he just put it out onto the paper. So Michelangelo, a kindred genius, did not keep cutting and chipping away, thinking how Moses ought to look and what sort of a nose he ought to have and what position his head might best rest upon his shoulders. So Michelangelo, a kindred genius, means something as relevant to Dante, okay, in relation to Dante. So maybe this guy is also artistic. What's the author telling? He did not chip away thinking about how Moses should be and all. Okay, he did not think, okay, I should have a nose of this proportion or the face of this proportion. That's not what he has done. Instead, okay, he looked at the rectangular block of Carrara marble and beholding Moses grand, a lifelike within it. So he thought that Moses was already present within that marble. Okay, knocked away the environing stone that others might see the mighty figure. So all he says the person Michelangelo did was take away the excess stone from that marble the way he saw Moses. Okay, so there was Moses, so some extra stone was there around him. He just took away the extra part of the stone. And so Beethoven, an artist of the same colossal order, wrote out for us those mysterious harmonies which his ear had for the first time heard, and which in his mournful old age it heard none the less the plainly because of its complete physical deafness. So basically, again, he's comparing with he's comparing Dante and Michelangelo again with Beethoven, who just like Dante and Michelangelo was also artistic in the nature that he sometime heard of some tunes, and even though now he was deaf, he still played it and he got it out. So it was more of his imagination that helped him play all of this. And in this way, Shakespeare wrote his Othello, spinning out no abstract thoughts about jealousy and its fearful effects upon a proud and ardent nature, but revealing to us the living concrete man as his imperial imagination has spontaneously fashioned him. So similarly, Shakespeare also, he did not give us some kind of definition or what would jealousy do to people. He is not given us any kind of an instruction manual. Instead, he gave us a story where he took a man who was jealous and he showed how that man actually interacts with all of us, just like how he had imagined. So basically, this entire set of paragraphs, they show me that artistic geniuses, okay, artistic geniuses like Dante, Michelangelo, Shakespeare, and Beethoven, these people use their imagination, and whatever they imagine, okay, whatever they imagine, they just go and they create it, right? Now that we've understood the passage, let's get into the questions of this passage. Question number 1 says, the author's use of the phrase prearranged theory in the second paragraph suggests that it's wise to plan ahead. See, again, he's nowhere said that it is better to plan ahead, right? He's just said that logical type of geniuses plan ahead. So it's wise to plan ahead does not really make a lot of sense. A non-genius uses someone else's theories. Again, there's nowhere been a mention about using someone else's theories. Okay, so definitely not going to be my answer. A critical genius is not truly creative. Now, this is something that I can think, because if you're a critical genius, you're planning everything, and that doesn't mean that you have the imagination. So if you're lacking imagination, you're lacking creativity. So this could be our answer. Now 4, a true genius first learns from others. Again, there's nowhere been a mention that a critical genius is taking someone else's work or he's learning from anywhere else. So 4 also will not be our correct answer. The best possible answer becomes 3. Now, for the second question, in third paragraph, the use of the word colossal to describe Beethoven implies. So what does this word colossal mean in the context of Beethoven? No one really understands Beethoven music. Again, see, colossal means something that's extremely grand or something that's too big for us to get. Okay, so no one understands Beethoven music, does not really equate to what colossal would mean. So it's not going to be my answer. Second answer, Beethoven symphonies are often performed in colosseums. Again, colosseums are big halls, okay, where there are musical concerts and all, but that is not why he has said colossal. In fact, in the passage he has said colossal to equate Beethoven with Michelangelo and Dante, who have come before him, right? So this is not going to be our answer. Beethoven wrote music to his patrons' orders. Again, patrons are people who are paying to listen to you. So just because someone has ordered, he's not kept those people in mind and written any music, right? It was his imagination. So this would be an opposite answer, so not our correct answer. Beethoven was a musical genius. Now this makes sense because he was a musical genius. He was so good a musician. He was such a big musician that we could use the word colossal for him. So the correct answer will be 4. Now let's go into the third question. Third question says, in the last paragraph, the author used the example of Beethoven's deafness to illustrate. So why did the author talk about Beethoven's deafness? Is it to show that Beethoven was sad? Because nowhere in the passage we've learnt about how Beethoven felt or anything, right? So this is not going to be my answer. Beethoven's inherent creativity, yes, although he was deaf, he could just imagine and bring things out. So that is what's creativity, which is internal, right? So this could be my answer. Third one, Beethoven's continuing musical relevancy. We do not know if Beethoven is relevant now or not, at least according to the passage. Obviously, he's very relevant right now. But as far as the passage is concerned, this has not been spoken about anywhere. So this is not going to be my answer. And 4, Beethoven's genius at overcoming obstacles. Okay, one might assume that the obstacles are deafness and all, but he has not overcome it. In fact, he has just used his imagination to bring out something that's very, very musical. So we are not using the word, the example of Beethoven's deafness to show that he has come, overcome the obstacles. We are just using it to show that he is very, very creative. So the answer will not be 4. Instead, it would be 2. Now, for the last question of this passage, in the passage, the author suggests that. So what does the author actually suggest? A good imagination is crucial to artistic genius. Yes, definitely the author says that you have to have imagination if you are an artistic genius who are looking at things as whole. So this is a good answer. Second one, a genius sees things that aren't there. Now again, a genius sees things that aren't there do not necessarily need to be true. It's an over exaggeration of what the passage is trying to say. So not a correct answer. Third one, no one understands a genius thought process. Again, something that's not been discussed in the passage whatsoever, so not going to be my correct answer. And 4, many artists are unusual people. Now see, this concept of who is an usual person and who is an unusual person has nothing to do with artists, right? At least as far as the passage is concerned, is not mentioned that artists are unusual people or artists have some special talents, correct? So 4 also will not be our correct answer. The best possible answer would be 1. Now that you watched the video till here, please do not forget to hit that like button. It motivates us to keep bringing videos like these for you every single day. Subscribe to this channel and share this video with a friend who's preparing for CAT 2025. You'd be helping them learn how to read a passage and understand it, also how to attempt questions and which options they should be leaving out. This is a very good resource, so I hope to see you in the next video.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.